Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Hi, welcome. It's me, Kelly. Such a lovely morning over here in the mountains, even though it is overcast, and there is somebody wildly carving wood very close by. So I hope that there's no interference. This is how it is living in the mountains. Someone's always cutting a tree and chipping away wood, and of course today at this time there is a lot of cutting and wood sawing happening, and so hopefully, the spirit babies will guide us into maybe them taking a coffee break for a little while as we move into this really interesting area of Spirit Baby connection. Welcome to episode for Thursday, May 19th, 2016, The Power of Twin-ergy, a Spiritual Uprising. So now I'm into 4 episodes. Feels like I've done so many more. I'm not sure why it is I feel this way, but it just feels so full, so rich. And I feel like I have more interesting, exciting, and healing shows to share with you. Spirit Baby Radio is always expanding into more things coming, I was going to say your way. How about our way, coming our way? So yes, today's conversation will be about twin-ergy. I've came up with this word. I don't even know how. Where I live, there are a lot of twins, and every time I see twins, I just see almost, I see these individual, unique souls, but I also see this sacred contract between each other to come into this life in the same space at the same time. And so I'm always really curious about the twin-ergy between twins, and we've heard many stories throughout TV. I even feel like mainstream media, even stories of adult twins where they've had psychic connections and different feelings in different places, and there's definitely a deeper bond and connection. So what is the spiritual energy and connection of multiples in families? How do siblings that share space feel about it? Are you sensing or calling in twin conception? Has twin birth proven to show you the extraordinary energy of multiples? Again, this episode will be about multiples in conception, birthing multiples, the energy of the vanishing twin, and the story behind art and the natural multiples. And again, that twin-ergy, it's twin energy, that connection. I've been doing a lot of research about twins, just very, very curious about the worldly connection of twins, and it seems like these days, at least in the city that I live in, there just seems to be a lot of twins. When I remember back growing up, it's very rare that fraternal identical twins even were around. It was just very rare. And so this has a lot to do with arts, the reproductive technologies of support, especially with IVF. We've seen that happening all around, I would say, the world, a lot in America, which has been really great and positive because this is a really beautiful, powerful thing that we're connecting with. We're connecting with these souls that are sharing space. And I have personally supported couples in twin conception, pregnancy. Actually, most recently, it was just a very fascinating connection. A very spiritual woman came in. She's been on the conception journey with her husband for a very long time, and she was so spiritually aware and so connected, and this was the final space that she was moving into her. She felt so intuitive, so right, and I know many women feel that way in conception, but something was different this time for her, and she really felt it. And as soon as she came through the door, her little boy was like, bam, he was right there, so strong. So we talked about her little boy. She was so connected with her little boy, and she really felt that was, his calling was coming into this world. And so after a few sessions and then having a session with her husband and her. And as we're in the session together, her boy's there, so strong and just very verbal, very vocal. How I see babies around the body is, I see them around the body. I see them around the energy field. I see them show me what they look like sometimes, what they're doing, what's happening. And sometimes what they're doing could be very simple or very complex. So he's just hanging out with his potential mom and dad are getting ready to move into conception. And when they were in this session together, this other little child came through. There was a little girl behind the boy. And I said, well, you have a possibility of creating space for twin, or they'll come as siblings. And we'll talk more about that, too, later on, because sometimes we get all these signs and signals about the twin energy, and then maybe a singleton comes. But there's something really meaningful about that connection. And some people think it could be a fantasy or a desire, because some people do want twins. It's not my preference. But some people feel really connected to that twin energy. And so there's something very meaningful in that. I would stay connected if that is your experience. There's something in that for you. And so as the little boy and little girl showed up in the session, I guess it was a week or two later, they went on another round of IVF and conceived later on a boy and a girl, and just gave birth recently this past month. And so now they have their boy and girl. So it was a very fascinating journey for them. It was fascinating just to have that connection and just to see one day the boy's there and then the next day the girl's there, and then they're both wanting to come into this life. And there was more work to be done with the girl energy of convincing and really feeling like she can have a stable body and grow really strong together, because they were, of course, separate fraternal embryos, fraternal twins. And so really just encouraging that. And the mama did her work. She really was just very present, and it was her time, really, and all the work that she's done. And she felt it. And it was really beautiful to hold that space to really see the depth of her, not just, of course there was fear, and that's normal. But she really felt really deep in this intuitive part of her being that this was the timing. And that comes down to self-trust, self-love, and intuition. And I've shared before, I did have a twin story also with an experience many years ago when I was a student, and I share this story as really the awakening to the spirit baby medium, where this classmate friend was pregnant, and she actually miscarried before, which is very interesting, which is very common with the twin energy. I hear very quite often, not to say that you have to have a miscarriage to have twins, but there seems to be something very connecting in that and learning and expansive. And so this woman, we were all on this hill, this beautiful grassy hilltop, and just all had our hands on her, offering her Reiki and energy, love and healing. And I remember feeling that there was two babies, and this is the first time I really saw these two babies behind her lower pelvis. And it was a boy and a girl, and I said it at the time where I was not, connected to the work or really interested in, I had no idea. And she was kind of shocked and confused and thought, no, that's not possible. I feel like, she felt like she was having a boy. And so she didn't do any intervention for months. So you know where the story's going. She home birthed vaginally her twins, which was quite a surprise and a most amazing shock of such joy, because the boy came first, so that boy energy was very strong. And there was a reason. I'm sure there's a reason why she had to have a birth this way, or why it unfolded that way. And then the little girl was very tiny, came a little bit later, and there was such disbelief when her family was supporting her and saying there's another baby, and there's no other baby. But there was, and so then she was born, and so then she has her twins, and now it's been almost 10 years. Oh my gosh, 10 years, wow. So now, they're grown, but at the same time it was quite interesting. It's a very interesting, and I love sharing that story because, I just put the trust in Mom. I was like, okay, she knows her body, she knows her baby, but there was something that had to happen where she didn't, need to notice that. But with technology today, most people are very interested in technology, the eagerness, because when you're pregnant, you may not feel pregnant right away, unless you're really sick and tired. That of course you feel like something's happening. But so with technology, there's an opportunity to check things out very early on, and with blood work and sonograms and ways to just see what's happening. And so those are my newest of my twin stories to share. And we know that there are many kinds of births, of multiples. It's not really called twin birth, multiple births, but we know that it is very rare to have 3 or 4. Or I know there was a woman who had 12. Was it 12 or was it 8? I don't even remember. Oh, no, it was 12 embryos, but 8 babies were born. But that's, controversial, not very maybe appropriate. But, each pregnancy is unique, and I hear that twin pregnancy and birth is its own unique path as well. And so what I was very fascinated by, I read that there were 7 kinds of twins. And I'm sure you get more into the scientific part of that. I was like, 7? That sounds like a lot of kinds of twins. And I guess when you're in the multiple energy and in that world, you probably know more about that. But I do want to talk more about, how do you connect with twins in conception and pregnancy, as well as, how to really tune into each unique soul of your twin so you can really feel, we go into baby A, baby B, which you could do that, or you can have, names already kind of floating around and connecting with those names. And I we'll talk more about, like, even how twins, I feel like they come to certain people in certain times. And I want to read a little bit here from Twins UK, the difference between twins. The ones that we see the most typical are fraternal twins, commonly known as non-identical twins, usually occur when 2 fertilized eggs are implanted in the uterine wall at the same time. That is when the mother releases 2 eggs and both become fertilized by 2 different sperm. The 2 eggs from 2 zygotes, and these twins are therefore known as dizygotic. So if you're in multiple world, you're in twin energy. These are terms that you become very familiar with. So we see a lot of fraternal twins. Fraternal twins is very common, whether it be natural or through assistance. It's almost like the body has an ease around being able to, release 2 eggs, sperm. But moving into the identical twin is so different. And again, this is very rare. And then thank you, twinsuk.com, great website if you want to learn more about twins. Identical twins occur when a single egg is fertilized by a single sperm to form one zygote, monozygotic, but the zygote then divides into 2 separate embryos. The biological mechanisms that prompt the single fertilized egg to split in 2 remain a mystery. The 2 embryos develop into fetuses sharing the same womb. I mean, wow, that is really extraordinary. So a single egg just fertilized by a sperm, and then something splits. And again, a mystery, like why does it split? And then there's these identical twins, and I even believe in that 7 that I said there's 7, there's even something called mirror twins, where there's even identical birthmarks mirroring each other. And it's just, again, quite fascinating, quite mysterious, and amazing, really. And there's also, I wanted to talk about, I've heard this to come up many times, is the vanishing twin, or it's called vanishing twin syndrome. And again, I'm going to read you from the Twins UK site. Let me see if I have their exact website here. Let's see. I think it's twinsuk.com, and if you can't find it, here it is. twinsuk.co.uk. Should be able to find it if you're interested in more about the way they talk about twins. So the vanishing twin syndrome was first recognized in 1945. This occurs when a twin or multiple disappears in the uterus during pregnancy as a result of the miscarry of one twin or multiple. The fetal tissue is typically absorbed by the other twin or multiple, placenta, or the mother. Although no one knows exactly how often this may occur, it is speculated that 1 in 8 pregnancies could start up as a multiple pregnancy. The widespread use of ultrasound, and particularly for IVF, where the scans are taken much earlier, around 5 to 6 weeks, means the second twin can be seen, yet on further scans it has disappeared, hence the term vanishing twin. That is so, again, fascinating, because I've heard this term many, many years ago. I had a chiropractor say, "Do you think you're a vanishing twin?" And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And this is when, like, the internet wasn't as big as it is now. So nobody was go get an encyclopedia maybe to read it or something, but just it's not a conversation that was just very common. So the vanishing twin. So a lot of people, 1 in 8, so I feel like what I've heard is that it could be more common than we think it is. Even opposed to, even comparing it to twin birth is more, what was the rates? It was like 1 in 8,000. Maybe that was identical twins. Don't quote me. Well, we won't get on the stats right now. I can't remember what I was reading. But the vanishing twin, so, if you may not even know it. That's the thing. You may not even know it. Because a lot of women may not get ultrasounds around 5 or 6 weeks. Unless you are someone who struggled with conception, then it may seem, it would probably be something that you would check out. But if you're someone that just is not having conception issues, or maybe you don't even know you're pregnant, that you have a possibility that you can have had a start of a twin birth, and then one just dissolves in you, or maybe you get a little bit of bleeding and you lose one. I'm sure there's different ways of your body's ability to either absorb it or the other twin, because they do say when twins are sharing space, they do take from each other. This is why we hear with the fraternal twins especially, how are they growing? Is one growing better than the other, which seems to be a very typical thing to hear. So, but that's biology. That's not anything personal. There's no energy around, I'm going to take from my brother or my sister. And so let me go back, and I want to talk to you about how to connect with your twins in conception. Such a beautiful topic, and I know I've connected with many women that feel very connected to their Twin-ergy. And so, being very open, it would be just as equal as doing a pre-birth communication practice, a spirit baby conception practice, where you're creating that meditative space. You are tuning into your intuitive and trusting heart and body, and you're seeing what energies are around you. Where are these twin energies, these multiples? Do you feel maybe the energy of 2 boys, maybe the energy of 2 girls, maybe the energy of a boy and a girl, or maybe you just feel the energy, these different, again, these souls, these powerful beings of light, of consciousness coming towards you as you're meditating, and just being aware of how you connect. Are you getting more of a psychic impression? Are you just feeling it move through your body? Are you seeing maybe even symbols out in the world? If you're seeing a lot of things in multiple, and, maybe you're questioning with your mind, is this a sign? Is this not a sign? And again, don't get overly one way or another, because I do feel like we often are misperceive signs, and our perceptions can be off at times, especially if you feel like you're overthinking it. Then you want to be very conscious of, just be in the awe of it, be in the shock of it, be in the appreciation of it. And so when you're connecting with that twin conception, you really feel in your heart this is what you're calling, then be open to it. Even, and again, I'll talk more about natural and IVF. And you want to do that also either or. It doesn't really matter. You want to create a space of connection. And I feel like creating that sacred twin space and really, creating an agreement or whatever it is from your soul, really accessing and activating your soul's connection with this twin possibility. And I love the idea of creating even a, what do you call it, like a ritual or a altar. Like get a space, maybe on a bookshelf in the corner of your room. Maybe you can even look up feng shui and see where the baby energy is in the room. I'm not really sure. And put things of twos. Put things that represent two of everything and make that like your sacred twin space. So let's say you have two of a candle or two of a little baby statue, two of hearts, let's see, two of crystals, two of flowers. You get the idea. Two of just beautiful, ceremonial, loving things. And I'm sure there's actually even fertility things that are probably in twins, which could be really fun, or even make something. Make something out of clay, make a painting, make something that reminds you of that twin connection, that Twin-ergy, and create that space and see how you connect with that. See if that's the calling for your soul and your baby's soul, and see if the twins want to come together or separate. And that's always a tricky one too, because some women will conceive really close to each other. And sometimes there's an agreement with that. There's that need to have that really twin connection. It's kind of a joke of calling it Irish twins when your babies are close to each other. And I guess because I probably should have looked that up. I guess there's this idea that Irish people, I guess back in the day, just have a lot of babies. And so they just keep having one after another. And so this term Irish twins is, very common. It's not, it's not uncommon. So what about twins in pregnancy? That is a whole other experience. And now let's say you've conceived and you have twins, and maybe you did on purpose, or maybe it was more of a huge surprise, or maybe it's a combination of both. Because again, you just don't know. We just don't know what conception and pregnancy, how things unfold, what's the story of your body, what's the story of your partner, and what's the story of your baby. And so now I say you're connecting with the twin energy in pregnancy. You're just probably in a space of awareness of growing, how your uterus expands to a certain extent before birth happens, and how you're tuning into this movement and this connection, especially later on, probably not so much in your first trimester, but as you progress, you feel the expansiveness, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And that is, of course, a beautiful time, just like in any pregnancy, to tune into your spirit babies, to really create that valuable relationship, especially when you're moving into labor and birth. You want to have an awareness, but you also want to be empowered and feel confident in your birth, because we do know that with multiple pregnancy, like births, there's no guarantee on how you will birth. So some women will set it up for a cesarean, and others really will work towards the vaginal birth, and there's just such a mystery in that. And so this is where your early connection and really good supportive space of your medical team or your midwife, your doctor, gets to be, on your side on what you feel, what you want to move towards in this type of birth experience for you and your babies. And so, doing that spirit baby connection early on and tuning into their souls and just having that conversation. So when you're coming up to labor, you're feeling the energy of labor, and you're probably just going to go into that space of labor, but also being able to just tune in to them, their own frequency, like you've been practicing months before. So it's not a new thing. And then just letting go, and then, birthing your babies, whether, again, it be cesarean or vaginal, and then, having a whole other new worldly rebirth experience as a mother. And then in those moments, moving into postpartum and still creating that soul-to-soul connection. You're the necessity, the need. You're their mother. You're their everything. You're their world. So you're creating space and how to connect with them, how to tune into them. So your pre-birth communication is actually allowing you to move into the next phases of your spiritual connection into motherhood. So your spiritual connection into motherhood allows you then to use your kind of telepathic sense. Because, and I will do a show on this, babies are extremely telepathic those first many months because they still haven't integrated being in earth, and you see it within those 4 to 6 weeks after birth. They're not fully engaged here yet, and then they just become more connected with their body and soul, and then they're welcome to earth. And they're very telepathic. Your children are very telepathic, and you just have to have a clear antenna, a clear channel for yourself to be able to just tune into that. And I think for some women it's subconscious, and other women are very aware, and some women are very shut down and very challenged by it. So, and I'm not saying that you need to know what every cry means. That, because you are a human being, and you're older, and you've lived in this world, and their stresses are very different, and that's fine. But overall, I think I would like to believe a majority of mothers are very attuned to their babies, especially if you've been on a longer conception journey, or, I would even say if you're an older mom that's had more time to maybe gain her wisdom. I shouldn't say that because some people, they'll live a long time and maybe not gain that much wisdom. So we can't really say just because we're aging we're full of wisdom. I'm still waiting for some older people in my life to get wise. And so, again, each twin carrying their own unique energy, their consciousness, their light, really just seeing the value in that. And again, like I said earlier, twins come to those that can handle it, because I do know that some of my women I've supported were like, I don't know about this twins. It's kind of made them very uncomfortable when the twin energy comes up in a session. And other times, some are just very excited and welcoming of it. And I really do feel like twins are going to come no matter what. And if you are one of those people that are scared, you can handle it. It's fine. That's why the twins are coming. You're going to be rebirthed into something different. And of course, with the supportive team of family and friends around you, it'll be figured out. And before you know it, things will just run and move in ways that they are needed to. So we talked about, how twins will come as separate births at times, as siblings. They're still siblings as twins, but they may want to have a little bit of time in between, maybe give you a little break, or just different reasons of coming. And, of course, twins, I love it. They are a beautiful mystery. The Twin-ergy, the energy of twins. And I know in other countries there are symbols and signs of good fortune. It's very fascinating to look at other cultures and to see that, especially in cultures where it's very, very rare. It's like, what, a twin? Oh my goodness, can I touch your twins and get some good luck from it? And if you're in conception, you can create that space of acceptance, or maybe even asking of not coming that way. You have that option, but that doesn't mean it will happen. Depends on your commitment and your strength from your soul, not your mind. Not so much your mind, more your heart and soul. And I know that could be very confusing at times, because I've worked with a lot of women, and I believe, like, in our world, there's so much energy put into our minds and our thoughts that somehow we can create and think things through, when it's more than just creating and thinking things. It's a part of it, but also the soul, this other deep space of our beingness, has to be in collaboration with the mind. It's just not a one-way thing. If that was the case, I would think of bags of gold and coins upon my steps. Why aren't they there? My thoughts are powerful. Why aren't they creating that? Because it's more than just your thoughts creating things. Yes, your thoughts can sabotage you too. So it's about always finding that balance between the heart and the mind. So know that when you're connecting with your twin-ergy and yourself and your partner. So if you're in partnership, of course, you want to call that energy in too, and call their preparation and preparedness for this kind of conception and pregnancy and birth. So now I want to move in, shift the energy a little bit to natural twins and IVF twins. And of course, there's not a term saying natural twins or IVF twins because, again, twins are twins. There's different ways with different purposes. And I actually have felt that some twins are going to be born through IVF. It's the gateway to coming into the biology, into that energetic space. And I know that it can be very hard for some people's minds to understand that because we do hear a lot more about IVF. And we hear a lot of judgment, of course, but a lot of women on a spiritual path of motherhood, young and old. Of course, I think the statistics show that older women are, investing more in IVF, but there are young women. I've worked with the young women in their 20s that are also looking into that path as well. And I like to look at IVF as sacred. I mean, it's an amazing part of technology, really, that a sperm and ovum come together and this beautiful little embryo is created. And I do feel, yes, there can be definitely an overusage of IVF and it could become very abusive. And I actually talk a lot about that in my workshop I offer, which is about creating that spiritually sacred IVF experience. Now, yeah, you have to watch what your energy's going and, seeing what's healthy or unhealthy on your conception journey. And so, again, the sacred IVF, this energy, is more than just biology, and I've said this before. I think I may have spoke about more maybe in last week, but I feel like IVF is its own show because there's so much going on around it, and of course it's so emotional, it's so deep, and at the same time it's so valuable and so beautiful and so necessary for some women. I've had messages once in a while, and some women ask me, like, is I ever going to be born IVF? And sometimes the babies don't say that. They won't tell me. Other times, babies will say it right away. They usually will tell me when parents don't ask. And I know I've offered it to some women. It's like, okay, well, I don't know if you're going to like what I'm going to say, but a little preparation. But your baby says this is the best way for you to come through, and then later on finding out that there were more deeper medical issues that it is. The womb sometimes the uterus is so clear and open, and all it needs is a little help. Maybe your eggs aren't producing the way that is needed for conception. Maybe the tubes are just not being a good slippery slope to get to the uterus. And so a lot of women have these, very cleared out, balanced uteruses, which is they just need that little push. They need that beautiful little embryo, that little sparkle, to just sit right there, and then connect with that energy, connect with that biology, but also connecting with the soul, because just because we have this opportunity to go through IVF for women doesn't mean it's going to actually happen, right? Sorry, I got to take some water in there. Probably not a good thing to say, but at least I was quiet for a moment. And so there are different ways into this world with different conception agreements. It's the same as birth, we walk in, let's say you go into conception and moving into the IVF energy is the same as, cesarean birth versus vaginal birth. There's always these opposing sides of what's better, what's greater. But birth is birth, conception is conception, and it's really what's the most important thing is where you're tuning in your heart. Where is your energy going? How are you finding that inner wisdom and support? How are you creating a community around you that supports you, whether, again, you have assistance with having twins, or just, you're naturally, having twins just without any intervention. And yet twin rates are increasing, again, as I said earlier, with most older women. But I did do a Google search, which was very fascinating, is what is the highest rate of twins in the world? Because I do know I support women in all parts of the world, and I've heard their stories. I know there are different things, there are government-sanctioned rules in different countries around conception, which is very fascinating. And so I found out that Africa has the highest rate of twins. I actually thought it would have been a developed culture that used technology, to be honest. I mean, that was my thoughts. But there's a particular, I think, a city in Africa that had a very high rate of twins naturally, and it has a lot to do with estrogen-producing foods. That was their theory. So when there's a really high level of estrogen, for some reason it creates twins. And I wasn't sure if they're more fraternal or identical. I want to assume they're more fraternal if there's more estrogen and the eggs are just coming out and the sperm's connecting. But I don't really know the depth and data on that. But I was quite, surprised. And I think that, the twinning, they call it twinning. I call it Twin-ergy. But the twinning rates will continue to increase around the world as we have assistance in reproductive technology, otherwise known as ART. And I find it, again, interesting that I feel like Africa, even though there's a lot of really horrific things that have come about in that country through disease and through violence, it's like the motherland of our world. It's this deep down inside of Africa, it's this most powerful, beautiful energy. It's like the heart chakra of the world, and it's just interesting that that country is going through so much heartache. I almost feel like it's like taking on the world's pains and just trying to work it through on some deeper level. And maybe that's another conversation, but I always feel like that African energy is just so powerful, so much more than we ever really understand or know, and how it just continues to transmute so much fear and pain when it should be opposite, really. Or maybe that's my perception. How is that? It's just baffling to the mind that this heart energy in this space is producing such a, complicated experience. But of course it has its beautiful moments too. The wild animals and just the beautiful terrain and the sacred lands. Maybe I need to go take a trip there someday. We'll see. I have a lot on my list where I want to travel. So let's see, how do we connect? We talked about that, how you connect with your twins in preconception and meditation, and how you're connecting in pregnancy, and that very interesting vanishing twin. So now I see we have a lot of callers. No pressure. Pressure's on. No. When I have a space here, the callers, I want this to be what I call the community cafe, where we can chat and share with personal experiences and questions. And you can dial in. I know I have a web access that you can just kind of click on, but if you do want to dial in, it's 425-440-5100, and your PIN access would be 979134#. And again, 425-440-5100. The PIN is 979134#. And I already see we have a hand that went up, so you have to press *2 to raise your hand. And so let's see, we have only one person from Florida, so I hope you talk now. Hello?
Hi, Kelly. This is Jessica in Florida. How are you?
Hey, great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for today's program. This is really interesting to me. I've always felt that there were two spirits. Well, I shouldn't say always. I started out with with one, and a second one sort of came in the past 6 months or so. I've been doing a lot of acupressure work and herbs and Chinese medicine and things, so it's been really interesting. So I guess one thing, and it's very, serendipitous that your call happened today. I've been having some short cycles, 23-day cycles, which is very unusual for me. And this is my second one in a row, and it's been after 6 months of acupressure and Chinese medicine, and I'm getting ready for IVF this summer. So I'm just sort of wondering if my body or my spirit baby is trying to tell me something, and I'm not really sure what that is. Usually I'll go over the deep end and start signing up for a bunch of programs and maybe not really use them and just throwing a bunch of stuff into the pot and making like a very weird soup out of it. So I'm just trying to really figure out, how to tune in and figure out exactly what I should be doing and if I should be freaking out at this point, if I should postpone or what.
I mean,
so I'm trying not to today.
Yeah. This is a hard one, right? You're in the exact place you're meant to be, right? You're right where you are. When you talk, I feel a lot of boy energy around you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're tuning into this boy. Maybe there's twin-ergy boys that want to come through, and yeah, the cycles do change. I was researching that cycles will change, and then all of a sudden this twin birth, and especially with IVF. So again, like I was sharing earlier with that one woman who's tried for years, and something shifted inside her. And I've had a lot of women say, "Oh, I'm ready to do IVF, but I was doubtful," and so they were like, "Was it fear? Was it intuition?" And so, there could be definitely deeper things happening on your soul level, preparing you for that possibility. And I know in America you can get more than two, we know you can do more than 2 embryos, so that's even a possibility. I know in other countries it's different rules, government sanctioned, but so and of course you want to do 2 because then you again the vanishing twin, which is not really vanishing, but who knows how the twin energy works. One may stay, one will go, but there could be definitely that secureness. And so I think the hard part is when you've been on a conception journey and you're excited but you're like scared is, what are the next steps? Am I supposed to, go into 1,000 different programs? Because our mind sometimes needs that support. Or is it time to just be like in a reflective place of connecting with your heart and just tuning into your new body cycle, just being open to it?
Right.
It's like when you move into pregnancy, your body's in a whole other cycle. There is no cycle really. That's where it goes. And then and then it's like a whole other thing. And it's a bit jarring because it's not the norm for you, and it's just shifts everything, your perception, your feelings, your emotions. And so this could be setting you up for some definitely excitement and nervousness at the same time. And so, knowing that you're on the right path, that could be the tricky thing, that, okay, my cycles are shifting and I'm present and I'm, feeling good about moving into the sacred conception of IVF and then take moment to moment, right?
Yeah, and I guess where I struggle a little bit is it the right time or do I need more time? I've already it'll be a year since the last round, and this will be our last time. So I want to, this is all our eggs in the basket type of a thing. So I just wonder what I can do to connect to know that this is the right time, so I just don't keep pushing it further and further because my cycles aren't perfect or, or something comes up. So that's really where I struggle, and I think maybe a lot of women do, is that you have this chance. And, there's a lot of emotion and finances that are put along with that. And at what point can you move forward without any regrets and know that you did what you did it whenever you were supposed to, and you put everything into that. It's
that's definitely the question of, your question, you're not alone. It's very deep and insightful to say, what is my next step? What's happening? And again, it's your journey of trust and connecting with your heart in a way that feels right for you. And you're right, it may not end up the way you would have expected, but you don't know without taking chances and risks into that space.
Right.
And feeling into it, and I know because I've supported women where they're saying, well, what's the difference between fear and intuition? It's just this fine line. And I'm like, it can be. It can feel like that. But at the same time, I've had many women say they felt like, well, the IVF was the right time, and then something shifted, and then something deeper came to them, that there was a realization of the timing. Or other women say, well, maybe this is a sign. I don't like when women say that. This is a sign that means I'm not meant to have kids. I'm like, that does not mean it's a sign that you're not meant. That's just the mind feeling like it's ready to give up, and because it's very challenging, of course. And so, but I feel like, we get there in those moments when that time comes in the summer. You'll know what the timing is for you or not. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're wanting it now because it's like, but it's ahead. It's the future. So you're creating that now. You're creating that along the way, and it'll arrive how it needs to arrive. Yeah.
And it's always been a boy for me too.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was like, we were talking about Spirit Baby. It just felt so much boy energy. It just felt really, really strong too. Like not even just a little bit. It just was like a wave of energy that just. And of course, I know, you'll be happy to receive any at the same time too. But continue to connect with your babies. Continue to feel their energy. Call that in, and sometimes more than one spirit baby shows up. I've seen this many times with people like this woman. One was showing up all of a sudden one day. Maybe the dad needed to be there, I don't know. And then all of a sudden that other little girl showed up. I was like, okay. And so really playing with that mystery, because it's not a conceptual mind logical thing. It's really free flowing in that intuitive part, connecting again with the energy of this other soulful being. And it's very much, I feel like in our own soul, like we have this connection, but we don't really talk about it in our culture, or it's not something really practiced. So also just, seeing I feel like normalizing that connection of spirit energy, but also being okay when you don't know things, I think is so appropriate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna mute you. We have someone else here on the line. Let me see. The number says, well, the last number, I don't know if this is going out, 4776. Hello? You're on the line. You have no name, but your hand is raised. Do you have a question? Anybody there?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hi, yes. I hear you. You're here. Uh-oh, now I don't hear you anymore. Maybe it's your phone. I don't know. Oh, there you are again.
Hear me now? Okay.
I hear you now.
It was my headset. Hi. Sorry. Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's Alive from Canada.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so I've really enjoyed your talk today and been taking notes and whatnot. And I'm wondering, so I am pregnant with twins through IVF, and it's been a very long journey for my husband and I. Mm-hmm. But we're very excited. We've had a lot of challenges at the beginning through some symptoms regarding the IVF and whatnot. But like even right now, I'm on bed rest and all that. But something that's been giving me a lot of courage was several weeks ago, my husband and I, we both had a dream of our babies, and that's when I was like, I know that I'm gonna have them, because I have a lot of fears, especially because my mother did have a vanishing twin. My brother, he was one, and my father, he was a twin, but his twin brother died at birth, and so did his mother. So there's a lot of like fears, even with birthing and whatnot. But I feel like my story is going to be different, and that, we'll birth them, and I'll be okay, and the babies will be okay. And I have a sense, like I've always thought of having either like girls, but since listening to your show several months back, I started feeling like a boy spirit, and so now it's like I wonder if it's girl boy, you know. And the interesting thing is that when I was going through a lot of like the health issues and I had to change my diet and I was like, oh, this isn't good for the babies. And the dreams that I had was, so my husband is from West Africa. So you were talking about Africa.
Nice.
So his family also has a lot of twins as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I had, and we've already have names for the babies. And one of the dreams that I had was, and this is really, it freaked me out because I dreamt of Prince after he passed away. And we went to go see him in concert. And I was speaking to him. And he says that I have a child by his name. I'm like, what? Like, that's, I can't. Like, I'm with my husband, you know, and I go back to my husband, he's like, he said this, and he goes, go back and ask. So I ask again, and he says the same thing. And the interesting thing is that the name that we have for our boy is an African name, but it's a royal name. So we were just blown away with that. And then with the girl, it was that because I had a lot of worries, so I don't know if it's my mind too, but I want to believe my intuition and just go with it, right? So I was, with all the worry of the food that I had to eat, because I had to eat a high-salt diet, and they said I was breastfeeding her, and she was a newborn, and then when I took her away from my breast, she said to me that she likes my milk, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can talk. And I said, but you have to keep some for your brother. And then I woke up, and because I was just like, oh my gosh, they're here, but they weren't. And then my husband, so I tell him that in the morning, and same with him, he said that he dreamt that he was holding them. So to us, we were like, these are signs that they're telling us that they're okay. And I've been doing a lot of work since listening to your, I heard from you at one of the telesummits and doing a lot of like the meditation and whatnot. And I've been doing a lot of that. So that was really the first time that I've done everything from, because it's been a very long journey for us to conceive, and we've had 2 failed IUIs, and it's the first IVF cycle, and it worked. So we're very thankful for that and grateful. And but your piece of work of connecting with the souls of the babies, like I've never even thought of that. And so since I started doing that work, it's been very helpful, and even trying to let them communicate with me. But this was the first time that I've ever dreamt of them, and I'm hoping to have more dreams of them, but I haven't.
Yeah, you probably will. How many weeks are you?
I'm 9 weeks and 4 days now.
Okay.
Today.
So you're in your very early first trimester, no movement yet.
No.
Your story gives me chills over the back of my shoulders, and I feel like you're touching, and especially about the twins in your family, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. I'm glad that you're sharing about the dreams, because there are a lot of women and couples that do have dreams, and they are signs. There's different kinds of dreams, which I've noticed is either they're more like psychological, working out emotional stuff, which are the really bizarre stuff, or you can really feel the depth and difference between that spirit baby dream of, and it's interesting how, we do get into fear, and we go, well, give me another sign, give me another signal, and your baby's like, Jesus already, okay, I get it, and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, that's me being fearful, and it's normal when, not even just on your conception journey that's been struggling and you've experienced loss, but at the same time, pregnancy could be very wild and amazing and challenging and all these things. It's not, and even women, let's say they just step into conception and they don't, there's no issues. There's still a lot of fright and confusion and fear and bliss and excitement. It's just so normal. The hormones are adjusting, and I feel like when we go through pregnancy, we're going through an initiation of a different thing. We're shifting into this creative space of motherhood, and these are souls. These are like people, like future people. This is very profound.
Yeah.
And so how could you not have, be affected by that? But it's, it's managing the fears and the intuition and finding that balance and knowing maybe some days, oh, wow, my mind is a chatterbox. And, but tuning into those dreams, it's really nice that you've had dreams as a couple, too, being able to share that and just seeing the different symbols and things. And when you were talking on the phone, I did feel a girl energy. And so I'm thinking there's got to be a girl in there somewhere. I'd be really surprised if there wasn't. But you're doing it. You're connecting to the spirit, and this is profound and powerful. And and you'll continue to see the changing of that. You'll see, and of course you're going to be nervous until mostly the first trimester. Most women are pretty nervous, but you could still be nervous for a while, and then there's something hormonally that balances out between the second and third trimester. Because then you're at the home stretch, and then you have to worry about labor and birth. Then you have a whole new set of worry. It's just, and then when you have your babies, you're like, oh, these little precious beings need me. Then you worry about that. There's always something, and I think if you have a really balanced mind, and I feel like you do, you manage it. You go between the fear, you go between not the fear, and you go, okay, and you express it, you communicate about it, you talk about it, you bring it to the show, because I think it's great, because I'm sure there's other women that are in your place, and now they get to hear this. And they get to go, oh, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and, what is this spirit-baby connection? Because I do find, that it could be definitely a new experience for women. They're not, used to it, or it's not something they were, grown up that way. But I feel like in more indigenous cultures, they do teach a lot of that. It's just normal. They pass it through the family history of connecting with your babies before, and this is how it's going. But I think it's really amazing. We talk about Africa, and then you have those African roots, and there's that twin energy. But, again, I have this whole other perception of Africa overall as this country, because it just, that the media, it's just so negative, and just even what people have gone through, in America, and it's just like, wow, this is confused. My brain is confused, because this is the most sacred place in the world, and somehow I think it's like transmuting all this darkness of our world, but so thank you for sharing all that. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. No, and thank you for all that you do, and I will be in touch with you very shortly, just to continue on this journey as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. For sure. Okay. Thanks. I'm going to put you on mute, and let's see what we have. We have a few minutes left. I don't see any more hands raised, because knowing me, I like to take all the raised hands, because I want everyone's voice to be heard, and I want your energy to be part of this kind of beautiful and amazing world, really, collaboration of the spirit baby. So like I was saying, I'm always connecting with women and couples around the world. It's not just here in my little mountain, California. But it's more than that, because energy is energy, and we're connecting far and wide, and that's very powerful. And that's what our world is about. That's what we're all coming to. We're all coming to a place of self-love and compassion for one another, and making that happen. So now, next week, I believe it's going to be the same time. I should be really clear about that. Let's see. Next week is, Thursday, May 26th, 10 a.m., Expanded Awareness, Spirit Baby Connection, and Miscarriage. I'm going to go into the conversations of loss. So how are you finding healing with a heart full of loss? Why did my baby leave? What can I do to find peace and understanding in miscarriage? And how do I heal after loss? You can join that episode 5 next week if you are somebody that has experienced loss or know someone that has experienced loss, working and connecting with your heart and your spirit baby. And you can now get the downloads. This is great. You can, of course, always go to soulbabycommunication.com, Spirit Baby Radio, but now I'm going to have downloads in iTunes, Stitcher, and some other well-known download place. So I want, again, to reach the energy far and wide into this free radio show to support couples, to support conscious conception, and to support the spirit babies. So again, thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to connecting next week.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.